Hello guys, once again it's Matt and today we have another video. Thank you all the members of the Patreons. Make sure to subscribe and let's get into it guys. I don't want this video to be too long. Normally they are kind of long. We are doing another tier list video. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Rank 8 only with the additions on the La Royale update. And we are dividing in 5 categories over here. Top dogs, the best out there. Great but aircraft that are amazing but they have a problem. Not great, not terrible. Mid aircraft that are not that amazing, only good at one thing, aircraft that are okay in one thing, but not really competitive, and then stumped by the meta, which is just really bad aircraft. I don't know if any of these will be here, but let's take a look. Of course, remember also that we are just talking about the aircraft that are on rank 8 and only on their own BR. So I'm not comparing, for example, the performance of an MLD compared to a MiG-29. It's just that on the 11.3 BR, how the MLD is, and on the 12.0 BR, how the MiG-29 is. And another disclaimer is that ignore this A over here, it's wrong. I forgot to change, and now I'm already recording, but there is only MiG-29, okay? Then MiG-29S, not MiG-29A. And it's normally confused by the 912A, 913A, stuff like this, right? But let's go. First of all, US F-16A Block 10. I think it's a great aircraft, but it has its problems. It's the best turning F-16 in the game, but it doesn't have BVR. The radar is limited, although is very good at air-to-ground. So basically, it's a F-16 that it's the most basic one, only having 9Ls, Mavericks, air-to-ground role is there, but it doesn't have BVR and it doesn't have a good radar. So it's great, but it has some little things that are not very complete about it. Then we go for the F-16A Block 15. It's an aircraft that is very similar to the 10. It has a different design of the elevator and extra weight, okay? So in the turning capability is a little bit worse, but it has BVR. Also, it doesn't have air-to-ground, so it's basically changing one for the other. This depends where I put it, if it's better or worse than the Block 10. It depends if you are going to use it as an air-to-ground role in ground RB or as an air-to-air role in air RB. If it's going to be air RB, the Block 15 is better in my opinion. If it's ground RB, the Block 10 is better. But they are basically in the mix right there. They're very similar to each other. Then we go for the F-14A. It's an aircraft that has its problems, but it is very good as well. On its BR, I mean, it has an amazing radar. It has pretty good missiles apart from the AIM-9H, which is very lacking. And yeah, the performance of it is pretty alright, even though it has kind of a lacking engine a little bit in power, I would put it in the mix right here. I would just add it in the middle here, because I think it has, actually I would put it right here. I consider the F-16 better, because it's more simple to fly, okay? The F-14 is a complex aircraft that has to be used correctly. And the F-16 is basically a glorified F-5, in the sense of the meta. So it's just fly out there, dogfight, and you will get kills. The F-14 has more of a unique flavor to it that you need to get used to it, which means that it's a little bit harder to actually fly. And then we go for the F-14B, obviously one of the top dogs of the game. Still, I will ignore that the problem of the TWS together with the TCS, system is just completely bugged right now. Let's ignore that bug. So if it was working correctly, I would say that it's one of the best aircraft in the game. So let's consider that it is. AIM-9Ls, best missiles that you can have in the American territory, right? The AIM-7Ms, AIM-54Cs, amazing radar. Even though it has blind speed, still amazing. And yeah, it's just overall one of the best aircraft in the game, right? Then we go for the MiG-23 MLD, an aircraft that I really, really care about, and I think it's right up there. It has its problems, so I would put it behind these three, but it's still amazing. The problems with it are the radar, obviously, and the turning capabilities. Even though you can't even win against an F-14, it cannot win against an F-16, so it lacks a little bit against the 4th generation aircraft, being a 3rd generation one, but it has a very good BVR, even though the radar is a limitation. The R-24R is an amazing missile. It has R-60M, so it's just overall a very, very good aircraft, very unique, and just overall the best MiG-23 out there, right? Then the MiG-29, man. The MiG-29 is my baby, right? I need to put it better here, better than the F-14B, because I just think that even though the F-14B has more features on it in the air-to-air role, which are both of these aircraft made to be used on, I would say that the MiG-29 is still better. In a dogfight, I would much rather have a MiG-29 than an F-14, and in a BVR also, even with the limitations of its radar, I think the R-27ER is just so good that it can outrange, outspeed, or everything that you want to say against any of the F-14 missiles. So overall, yeah, they're quite there, on the top. And I think the F-14B is obviously a more complete aircraft, being a better aircraft for air-to-ground as well. I just think that in the air-to-air role, the MiG-29 is superior in general in the meta of the game. We're not talking about real life, okay? I don't care about your own, biases and stuff like that in the real life. I'm talking about the meta of the game, obviously. Then we go for the Yak-41M or the Yak-141. I would say that it's probably up there. It can be better than the F-14B and the MiG-29 in the BVR, but everything else is pretty limited. Only 4 missiles. You cannot carry like much more things than that. Just the air-to-ground is very limited. The performance of it is very good, but it's not the most amazing thing ever. I still take a Yak-41 over these aircraft, but it's still worse than these two in my opinion. So very good at BVR, but everything else is okay, nothing too crazy, but still better than a lot of aircraft, right? Then we go for the MiG-27K. The MiG-27K, I think it would be not great, not terrible, probably, right? It's like only good at one thing, but it has R60Ms, and it can like deal with targets in a way that it can like defend itself. So I would put it on not great, not terrible. It's not an amazing aircraft. It's still developed on the MiG-23M's fuselage, engine, everything like that. R60Ms, a lot of flares, but the major thing is that it can actually be a very, very good air-to-ground tank destroyer, right? So just overall, not an amazing aircraft, but it is very, very good, and to run tanks in ground RB, it's pretty alright. Then we go for Germany. We have the MiG-29 912A. Obviously, I have to put it right here, because if I consider that the 913 is the best aircraft in the game, the 912 is right up there, having less weight. Since we don't have a ECM right now, I still consider it a little bit, it's not by much, but a little bit better than 913, just because of the weight of it. And since we don't have ECM, everything else is amazing. But by the way, the radar is still bugged. You cannot fully tilt the radar downwards, So Gaijin, please fix this aircraft, and this aircraft still have their own problems with their radar. So fix that, please. And these two don't have the proper, and including the MiG-29 for Germany, don't have the proper, scale on the radar screen. So that's another bug that they never fixed. Then we go for the MiG-23 MLA. I mean, basically the same as the MLD, just turns a little bit less. So I'm not going to mention too much, but yeah, right up there. Then we go for the Tornadoes. I think both of them need to be added over here. Only good at one thing. So the Tornadoes have a high BR, and they can be fairly good in the right hands, but you're not going to get aces and stuff like that normally, right? It's a very difficult aircraft to fly, sometimes in air RB. But the Tornado Asta 1 is a very good at air-to-ground in the ground RB battles. So it's bad in everything else, but in the ground RB is a very good aircraft. And with the lower BR, with 11.0 and basically having a lot of bombs, still, and having a uniqueness of having the air-to-ground radar together with the AS-34 missiles, it makes the Marineflieger a okay aircraft to actually fly in the air RB role as well. So I would use this one for ground RB battles and this one for air RB battles, right? But they're only good at one thing, bombing, basically. So yeah. Then we go for the F-16A Block 20 MLU. It has a similar fate to the other F-16s, but I think it is a top dog. I don't put it right here just because it is quite worse in the sense of BVR than the Yak-41, but everything else kind of makes it up for it. So it has air-to-ground. It's the most complete F-16 in the game. So it has air-to-ground. It has the best F-16 radar with 75 kilometers of range, so better range than the Block 15. And also, it has TWS. Together with that, it has BVR, as I said, air to ground, and it's still a Block 15, so it turns pretty well. It's still an amazing aircraft. Worse than the Block 10 in the general sense of a raid fight, but still amazing, and the most complete F-16, as I said. So I still wouldn't put it right here, even though it's more complete than the Yak-41 in the sense of doing air to ground, just because the Yak-41 is much better in the BVR role. And in a dogfight, if the pilot knows what he's doing, the Yak-41 can beat the F-16. So yeah, I would put it right there. Then we go for the J8F Pingback. It's an aircraft that's quite problematic. I really don't know where to put it, because I don't think it's good enough to be a top dog. It's a third generation aircraft, still amazing engines and stuff and amazing missiles, but it's not quite there yet. But it's still, compared to all of these, in the performance, I mean, you can beat it. So I would probably just put it in the mix. Because even though it is a third generation aircraft that has kind of a limited radar compared to the F-16, it is basically the same radar. It is limited. It has the Python 3s with HMS. So it will be in the same kind of mix there. Even though it's an older design, you know, kind of third generation still, it is quite good at using the Python 3s with the HMS, with the helmet, right? So it is quite there, right? Then we go for France, the Mirage 2000D. Obviously, a very good aircraft at only one thing, I would say. I mean, it's an aircraft that it isn't made for ARB, even though, yes, you can get a lot of kills with it. So I mean, not great, not terrible. Let's just add it right there to not piss not to make the French mains mad, right? But yeah, it's an amazing aircraft for air to ground, in ground RB. Laser guided bombs, amazing performance for that type of role. It's very good, and it can defend itself with the magics, flares, and stuff. It's just that in air RB, it's kind of limited. It has to use a gun pod, only 2 magics, so in a general sense, it is a limited aircraft, but it has its role, you know. The Mirage 2000C, I would put it right here. I mean, we would put probably right here. Obviously better than the MiG-27K. And then the Mirage 2000C would put it right here. Yes, it can beat in a 1v1 situations, in certain situations, the MiG-29, the F-16, but it would stay still in all, I mean, the majority of the players using these aircraft are normally not familiarized with using the delta wing design, and with its awful thrust weight, if you lose the energy, you take a little bit of time to actually get your speed again. Even with that, it can beat it. I said it. It's a mid aircraft. I don't consider it a bad aircraft. It's just not great, not terrible. It's okay, you know. The BVR weaponry, yeah, it's all right, but at closer ranges, the radar, even though it's a very good one, the range on the Super 530Ds are pretty bad. And the Magic 2s, they're pretty amazing. One of the best missiles in the game, but only 2 of them. So it's an aircraft that has everything to be amazing, but that little spice that would make it better than these other. The Mirage 2005F, though, I think it's a little bit better. It's still a mid-aircraft, but due to the fact that it has the ability, I mean, probably put it right in the mix over here. I would put it like right in the mix here. It's still kind of a mid-aircraft, but it has the ability of using air-to-ground. And together with the PGMs, together with the laser-guided stuff, it can be a very good air-to-ground weapon. So it's a very complete aircraft. It's basically good at everything, but not amazing at anything, right? So it doesn't have a lot of missiles, it doesn't have a lot of performance, it doesn't have the best missiles out there, but it has basically everything that it would be needed to be a good aircraft. So it's right up next to that. Might even be better than the Block 15, just because it's more complete with the ground role, right? Then we have the Tornado ADV. That's another aircraft that I would say it's problematic. I mean, because it has a lower BR, I would say that it's, I don't know, it's probably right here. It's great in the right BR and in the right hands. It's a problematic aircraft in many regards. It doesn't turn, it doesn't accelerate well, even though it has a fairly good top speed and an amazing radar. The missiles are amazing as well. I think for shorter ranges, they're pretty good. But the thing is that it just doesn't turn, man. So you cannot dogfight. So if you cannot dogfight, you cannot carry the game, you know, carry normally a game. Only if you are kind of lucky. Doesn't mean that it cannot get aces or anything like that. It's just an okay aircraft, I think, compared to other ones that we have. Tornado IDS 9095, I need to put it right here. Same principle as the Asta, right? The Block 15 ADF, same principle as the Block 15 for the Americans. It's basically the same aircraft. Then we have the F4EJ Kai Phantom. I think it's not great, not terrible. I would put it maybe... I would still much rather fly a Kai than a Tornado ADV, I think, because it turns better than that. So yeah, I would put it right here. Amazing missiles, fairly good radar for the BR that he has and stuff. The performance is alright, it's just a Phantom, not an amazing aircraft, but yeah, it's pretty alright. It doesn't have anything else going for it. The F-16AJ, this is an interesting one. I would say that it's probably right here. And why? Because it's basically a Block 10 that has BVR, and it has air-to-ground as well, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, it's like a Block 20, but turning a little bit better, but not having the better radar. It's pretty much what it is. So it's better than the ADFs and just overall all the other aircraft. It's pretty much on par with the MatAWG. The MatAWG having less performance on the turning and having better radar. This one having less radar, but better turning. So they're in the same kind of category over here. Very good aircraft, and just an amazing one that everybody kind of misses a little bit about it. Then we go for the Tornado F3 over here. The same performance as the EDV for the Italian, so yeah, nothing else to say. Harrier GR7, I think it's all right. I think he would be like maybe like right here, something like that. It's not an amazing aircraft, okay? It can turn well and it can beat a lot of aircraft in the dogfight, but it doesn't have even a radar. It doesn't have BVR, and in the air-to-ground role, it's okay, but it doesn't have the performance. You have to have patience to actually climb and use the laser-guided bombs and stuff, or the Mavericks. It's a very good air-to-ground aircraft in the right hands, but even that, you need to be careful flying it because it's slow, so the AA systems can basically jump on you. And in the air-to-air role, it can defend itself, but it's nothing crazy, like, crazy good, right? So, yeah, it's right there. Then the Tornado IDS GR1, I think it's the worst one over here, even though, I mean, it got the PGMs, right? So it's in the mix. I would say that it's in the mix. It's nothing crazy good, but it's right there. Then we go for the Kurdas 2000. I think it's an aircraft that is fairly okay right now. I wouldn't say that it's... I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's better than the Kai. Because... Oh, no, but the Kai doesn't have the Agile Eagle, right? So I think it's in the mix with the Kai. They change stuff up, right? The Kurdas 2000... they both have basically the same radar. The performance of the Kurdas will be a little bit better because of the Agile Eagle. And then the missiles. Obviously, you don't have the Sparrows here, but you have the Pythons, which are very good. And with the Pythons, you can only also use more countermeasures as well. So it can be a very good aircraft. So they're in the mix. They change one thing for the other. More performance, better IR missiles, more countermeasures, less performance, but having BVR. So that's pretty much the exchange, and not having BVR here. So yeah. That's pretty much it. And then we go for the F-16A nets. I think it's right up here. Let me... Oh. I would say that it's in the mix over here. I would say, I don't know how good this thing is. Maybe right here. Just because, yes, it has the air-to-ground. It has Python 3s, which not having BVR kind of makes it up for it. And then it's a Block 10 as well. So it's right up there. I'd still take these two over this one just because it has BVR. But the nets, it's a very, very good aircraft. It has the turning capabilities of the Block 10s, and it has the Python 3. So it's a very good aircraft. I wouldn't say that it's a bad one. And then we have the JA-37. To be honest, man, I don't know. Just for the sake of it, let's just add it as stumped by the meta. It has a very bad radar. It has a very bad radar missile, the normal Skyflash. The AIM-9L, yes, you can use it, but the performance isn't just not the most amazing thing ever. I still think that it's the worst aircraft in rank 7 for its role, right? Obviously, a MiG-27K, for example, it can lose a dogfight against the JA-37. The Tornadoes can be worse than it and stuff, but for the objective of the JA-37 to exist, which is fighting and intercepting and stuff. The radar is awful. The missiles are awful, apart from the RB-74, which are just on par with everything else that is here. And then the performance is okay. In the right hands, it can beat in a dogfight even the most expertise pilots in some of these aircraft, but he would probably never win against the MiG-29 and F-16 and the F-14 and Mirage 2000, aircraft like this. So I just think it's a very limited aircraft. It has everything to be good, but it just quite doesn't get that, Maybe when it gets the RB-99, it will probably be okay-ish as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's bad at that as well. But I don't know, it's right here, guys. I don't think it's a very good aircraft anyway, right? So yeah. But anyway, this is it, guys. I still think that these are the lineup. MiG-29s are the best aircraft in the game right now, in my opinion. The F-14 coming just afterwards, Yak-41, and then some of the F-16s as well. Then the Mirage, some of the other F-16s, some of the other options that we have here. So amazing aircraft. And of course, this is my opinion, so don't take this too seriously, obviously. Leave it in the comments, what would you change in this one? And I see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. Subscribe. I always forget to say to subscribe, so subscribe.